Nightcrawler stars Jake Gyllenhaal as a man who is looking for a job, and when he comes across this kind of unknown profession, people who try to get to crime scenes as soon as possible to get footage to then sell to the news, he gets really good at it. In fact, he gets too good at it, and eventually he gets way too good at it, to the point where he himself is committing crimes. This is not a movie about an X-Men superhero. This is a movie about an insane, possibly psychopath who is extremely good at appearing like an awesome human being until you get to know him. I was really excited to see this movie, not just because a lot of people were buzzing about Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, but I was starting to hear things about the screenplay. A really good friend of mine who is a writer told me he read the screenplay and was like, it's one of the best I've read in a long time. And for that reason, I was pumped when this movie started, and I'm just as pumped to talk to you guys about it now because this movie blew me away. Let's get the obvious out of the door. Jake Gyllenhaal gives probably the best performance of his entire life in this movie. He is a gaunt-looking man. He lost a lot of weight for this role. Let's not focus on the weight loss, though. That's an easy way to get noticed sometimes. Let's focus on how he actually performs in this movie. I did not see Jake Gyllenhaal. I saw a character. I saw a different person. And when you don't see an actor, that is a performance that is worthy of an Oscar nomination. I think he's an actor that's making such good choices right now with movies like Prisoners and Zodiac, and Nightcrawler confirms to me that this guy is just a genius actor. And yes, the screenplay of this movie is absolutely magnetic. There are so many different dialogue scenes in which you cannot stop focusing on these characters, particularly Gyllenhaal, because he is just so good as this guy who is becoming so obsessed with the idea of capturing the perfect crime on film and making money doing so by selling it to news channels. And as you watch that obsession take over him, you start to see him turn into what, in my opinion, is a psychopath. I mean, in all honesty, I was trying to figure out who the antagonist of Nightcrawler was until I realized it might actually be Jake Gyllenhaal. He might actually be the main villain of his own movie. And yet you want to root for him somehow because the script is so well written that you actually get to that point where you are rooting for someone who's doing terrible things. And it's because you're able to understand his character's brain. You're starting to figure out how this guy works and how the clock ticks into place up there. And you really start to understand him as a person. And that's why his performance works so well and why the screenplay is so good, because it's so focused on character. And because of that, this movie is endlessly watchable. It's a great looking movie too. The streets of LA have not looked this good since probably Drive in 2011. I'm not comparing it to said film. Drive is a better film in my opinion, but Nightcrawler is a movie that is so focused on its character, and you're able to understand his obsession so well, despite the fact that you know in your head this is never something I would ever want to do. You're able to understand said obsession because of his performance, because of that excellent script, and because of how well this movie is shot. I've never really been a fan of the news. I don't like the news, and it's because as a person, I'm one of the people who looks at a shot on the news and says, how did they get that? What exactly was happening behind that camera? Because I do that with normal movies. It's always bothered me, and seeing this movie confirmed to me why it has bothered me. I don't like the news for this reason, because this movie so accurately describes the seedy underworld of the evening news. The writing was off the chart. The acting was explosive. The directing was very good. It could have been a little bit better. I could see if someone like Fincher or Nolan or Spielberg had his hands on this movie, it would have been slightly more intense. But I will say that this movie has probably the most suspenseful finale I've seen all year. The last 20 minutes of this movie were absolutely nail-biting. I'm going to give Nightcrawler an A. Definitely check this one out when it comes out in theaters. And if Gyllenhaal's not nominated for an Oscar, there's seriously a problem with the Academy. Guys, what are your thoughts on this movie? Have you seen it yet? Let me know what you think below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.